Welcome to the Golden Child Podcast, the podcast to help you to reconnect with your inner child to live the life you truly desire. And here's the awesome intro that I love. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we have a fantastic guest from the United States, Shabnam Kamal. Thank you so much for coming to the Golden Child Podcast.
Thank you, Enrico. Thanks you for inviting me to your podcast. It's a blessing to be here to talk to your audience.
That's fantastic. Shab. So actually, I'm gonna call you Shabnam because it's a beautiful, beautiful name, and I know there are few people in the States that are actually calling you that. I'm gonna call you in your full version of your name. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Tell you can share who you are, what you're doing, where you're from, your history, background, and studies. Really, it's showtime.
Sure. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Well, my name is Shabnam, which means morning dew, but some people know me by Shab. I was born in Iran and left the country, unfortunately, before the revolution at age 12. And we went to Europe. We stayed there for, several years, and then we came to United States. And that's where I think my journey started as a teenager in US. I come from a very diverse background. My mom's side is Jewish and Muslim, and my dad's side was Muslim. We had a lot of interracial marriages in the family. So I want to say that from the beginning, religion was always in the background, and I've been exposed to so many different types of belief system. But one thing that I've learned from my family is to see everyone the same way. No one is more superior than the other person because of their belief system. And I carried that on with my girls, with my daughters, and I believe that. So in Iran, I learned about Islam. Then I went to Europe. In France, I went to a Catholic school. In US, in Los Angeles, I was exposed to my Jewish mom's side of family. So yeah, and then when I became an adult and I decided I'm going to go after spirituality and find out what I want to know and what I want to believe, I ended up in an Ayurvedic ashram, an Indian ashram, where they practiced Hinduism. And
Wow.
that was very different for me, very different. So I had a conflict in my head with all the stuff that I had learned. And Hinduism is all about nature. It's about going inward, learning about yourself, the higher self, and self-realization. So I've had, I want to say, wonderful journey to get to know myself. And here I am talking to you about it. So yeah, a little summary of where I've been and where I am now.
How did you manage with the conflict of cultures? I mean, you're coming from a Muslim country, but you grew up in a Jewish environment, and then you got exposed into an Hinduist environment. So how did you manage this cultural shock?
Well, you know what? My parents were not religious at all. They were not religious, but they believe to respect all religions.
I see.
Okay. And that's how my parents got along. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a big conflict when you are married to a Jewish person or a Muslim in Middle East. So they learn to coexist with respect and knowing that there's not only one way. There are different ways to get closer to God, have a belief system. So, so the cultural, I want to say, Iran in the past, before the revolution, was very Westernized. We were very much influenced by Europe, right? And my parents did their studies in France, so they were very Westernized too. So for me, I want to say culturally, the transition was not a big shock, okay? But of course, everywhere you go, I'm coming from a Catholic school in France, coming to not private, actually, it was a public high school in LA. That was a little different for me because you are very free in high school here.
Mm-hmm.
You had more restriction in with nuns in a Catholic school, so that was a little different. Learning about Bible was a little different for me, but I learned and I tried to understand at age 13, 14, try to make sense. And then in adulthood, coming into Hinduism was also, I felt like I was expanding my mind. Whatever I learned, it's like, wow, there's more to this. So
let me ask you this, because this is what happened to me. What was missing, and let's put into brackets, missing in the culture or in the environment that you had that you found in the spirituality, like Hinduism, spirituality, and Ayurveda?
What was missing?
Yeah, what was missing?
What was missing for me?
Yeah, what was missing? Like for me, for example, like when I was looking for a mentor, I used a quote coming from Islam that says, "Seeking knowledge, even if it means going to China."
Yeah.
But that means that the environment where I was living was not giving me the nourishment that I needed in order to grow. So what was, I would say, missing is not maybe the right word, but maybe, I don't know, you can tell me.
Maybe this sounds kind of made up.
Yeah.
But the truth was that, since I was very young, I always felt very close to God.
Nice.
I would pretend to pray, the Muslim prayers, just to get good grades and pass my exam. And I would pray for things that I wanted. But I didn't know what I was doing when I was little, right? But I always remember having this conversation, whether it was my guide, my guides, or my God, I don't know. I was having this intimate relationship with some sort of outside of myself, which kept me calm. When I went to Catholic school, what I loved about the school, and it was what we call in French pension, it's boarding school, right? So I had to stay there. I would stay there the whole week, and then end of the, like the weekend, I would go back to Paris. It was outside of Paris. So they had a chapel. And every night I would go to the chapel and pray, just sit in that calmness. I got goosebumps. Nice. And just sit there and talk and just find that peacefulness that I had back home, but with only talking with my God. So when I came to US, I missed that.
Yeah. Here,
you cannot find churches that are open all the time. In Europe, you can walk to churches all the time, right? Yeah. So even when we were living in France, I would go to the church that was like walking distance to our place and find that serenity. I was looking for that. I missed it. I didn't have that when I went to high school. And I said that in my book, that I was looking for that peace that was holding me. So I think Hinduism brought that back to me, because I started connecting with my intuition, with my inner wisdom, with my higher self. And that's where I really connected with myself.
Kind of like, I would say that Hinduism was a bridge builder between you and the inner um, word. In Sufism, there's a word which is, I think, batin and zahir, which is what can be seen and what is inside. And I would say that Hinduism can be really a good bridge builder, really, to connect ourselves with spirituality and get deeper, to the root of things, and really understand who we are, and really develop intuition. Intuition is a nice word. It's something that I've been developing a lot quite recently, and I think it's a fantastic tool to live a really, really happy and healthy life. And you mentioned something which is very connected to intuition, and also with talking, which is your book, which is a book regarding how to build healthy habits, on how to create healthy spiritual journaling. Please do share more about this fantastic book that you wrote.
For sure, for sure. Before I get into that, I wanted to say also what I noticed with spirituality versus religion that I was exposed to at the beginning of my life was that I always thought God is outside of me. He is like in the clouds and he's watching me. But spirituality helped me understand that I have the attributes of the God that I'm worshiping and the God that is inside of me, however I see it, because it's different for everyone,
Indeed.
So in my book, which is called Unlock the Hidden Power of Spiritual Journaling, that I try to talk about the communication that you can have with your higher self.
Nice.
Whether you are tapping into your intuition and you're writing about something and you're asking questions, your intuition will tell you what it is, and it comes on the page. At one point, I felt that I was getting messages, either in thought form, or I was writing really fast, like in automatic writing.
Okay, I see.
And I realized that after a while, because my writing was so terrible, my handwriting, and because I was going so fast, because messages were like kind of like downloading so fast, I had to write really fast. And sometimes I would ask a question and the answer was not even related to that, but it was the answer that I needed to know, the guidance that I needed to know at that moment. And that's what I talk about in my book, how you can journal by being authentic to yourself, being honest to yourself, with, of course, the behind the scene work, which is what we call sadhana, which is your spirituality, your meditation, your asanas, your yoga poses that is helping your physical body, your pranayama that calms the mind down. So there's some work to do plus journaling. So that's what the book is about. It's a simple, fun book to read and be guided.
When did you start doing spiritual journaling, and why did you start doing it?
I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease in 2004, which was a huge shock for me. I was a healthcare professional myself, working in hospitals. I was fit, eating well. I thought that I was doing everything right. And I looked good, right? From outside, I looked good. I felt like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. When I'm healthy, this is how I'm supposed to look. Well, before I knew, I started having some symptoms of, someone who has really bad asthma, and I had shortness of breath,
Okay.
fatigue, and it took a while. It took months of going from one doctor to another to get diagnosed with this rare autoimmune disease called sarcoidosis. And by the time I was diagnosed, it was stage 4. So,
Wow.
yeah, so you can just imagine the shock that, okay, what do I do? What is this, first of all, and
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do? So the doctors told me that they cannot do anything. There's no remedy, but steroids
Again.
for the rest of my life. Yeah, for the rest of my life. And that was something that the voice inside of me kept saying, nope, there are other ways. Nope, just let go of that idea. And I began my journey of looking for answers. And amazingly, the first thing was, who am I? What am I doing? Is this work that I'm doing the right work for me? And I dove inside by going into a local spiritual center. I
Yeah.
religiously would go to the sermons, meditations, and they were all about, their lineage was Paramahansa Yogananda.
Okay.
So it was Kriya Yoga, and they brought a rabbi, they brought a Muslim imam. Every week I was exposed to
A different truth.
different truth, exactly, but we were all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And but I had my questions. I would go home and ask, look, so how do I do this? How do I get healthier, or what can I do? So I would ask questions and after questions. So I want to say maybe a few months after writing every day and downloading everything that I had in my head in my journal, that I started having that experience automatic writing, which answers keep coming to me. And that was an amazing, amazing way of calming my anxiety, putting me at ease that everything is going to be okay. You're protected. Just relax.
I
That
like
was
it
it.
because I like it because you started basic alone, and it's truly amazing and remarkable. But again, I think there is wisdom inside our mind and body that even though we don't have the awareness, it kind of pops out. That for you has been journaling. It's something I've been doing for many years and truly helped me, to cope with stress and anxieties and previous trauma. And when you learn to verbalize this, amazing powers, I would say, and intuition is the right word,
Yeah.
guide you towards the right direction. Actually, through journaling, you can learn so much about yourself, who you are, where you want to go, who you want to connect, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah.
And it's a free tool. It's a free tool. It's something that we
It
have
is.
deep inside. And a lot of people, they are spending thousands of dollars in medication and going to a psychologist, which is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong in that. It's
Yeah.
important to have your own doctor. It's important to have your own psychologist, which I think there is value, someone you can talk to. But you know who is the best doctor you can have in your life? You.
Yeah.
You're your best doctor. There's nobody, I mean, nobody who knows yourself better than you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can go to a doctor and take a story to a doctor, and that doctor will go from your story and give you medication and diagnose you from that, right?
Yeah,
And a lot of people do that with psychologists. But when you know yourself, I mean, I always say you can lie to everyone, but you cannot lie to yourself.
that's nice.
When you are alone with yourself, you know the truth. And that's where journaling comes, because I call my journal my best friend, my confidant, because there's no judgment. You write and you tell your friend something that you cannot share with other people.
Yeah.
But journal accepts it without giving you an answer or an attitude, right?
Yeah.
It's a good bridge. It's a good help. It's a good tool to have to get to know yourself. And I've had experiences that sometimes something that I would write and I would look at it like, wow, where did this one come from? This
Yeah.
was an issue maybe 10 years ago. Why is it coming up to surface now?
Mm-hmm.
But you pull from places that you didn't think that you've been hiding, secrets or emotions, or you suppressed things that you didn't know, you did it subconsciously. So
Our
I
mind is like it's like the sea, and sometimes just things that are under the surface, they just pops out, and then there is something
yeah
very deep, even in the muddy water, and when you get through the mud, it's everything but pleasant. But after the discomfort, because remember, law of impermanence is very important to know. Okay,
yes
nothing is eternal, and through that, even the most excruciating pain, experience, and trauma
yeah
cannot withhold forever
yeah
because it's not permanent.
Mhm. It's not. And I think that's yeah, I want to say my journal was my doctor, because my doctors were gone, they were out of picture. It
Yeah.
was me, myself, journal, and my sadhanas, my practices. So I had no other choice. The other thing that I really liked about the practice of journaling was that I started trusting my intuition. And how did I know that it's my intuition or my thoughts? Thoughts come in and you think logically, which is a normal thing for
Yeah.
our brain, but intuition gives you a different sense of being.
Mm-hmm.
Me was that calmness, that peacefulness that I felt, and I knew that this message was from my intuition, because thoughts can have fears also.
Indeed.
When your brain tells you no no no, you're not supposed to do this, you know right away that it's my brain talking. But when something tells you go forward, everything is going to be okay, that's the intuition that tells you.
You remember that when I told you that for me, intuition is I see everything, like everything is in 1080, and then the intuition, the right corner is in 4K. It's kind of like more sparking some way. I don't know. You just follow it. Some people are more visual, some people are kinesthetics, some people are just auditory. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just gotta feel it and leave it and just go with the flow. And it's so hard because we're living in our head too
Mhm.
much.
Yes. Yeah. We just have to learn how to trust and don't be so much in the head, which is very logical,
Mm.
and tap into your heart. And all
Yeah,
would be okay, because this heart knows you.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
For example, let's play a game of intuition right now because we are both intuitive people. For example, you chose this beautiful background that you have, and behind you there is a plant. So it makes me think that you love plants, that you have a deep spiritual connection with not just with the plants, but the roots, actually caring for the plants and makes it grow, into something bigger than you and yourself. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love nature. I love plants. Um, they bring a type of peacefulness around us.
Yeah.
And and nature gives us that energy that we need. Whenever I find myself too anxious or upset about something, I always go for a walk, and I don't take my headset, no music. I don't go with anyone. I just pay attention to all the nature around me.
Yeah.
They, like the tree, reminds me that, hey, everything is the way it's supposed to be. Look at me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm green today, but tomorrow I can be brown. And nobody says, why is this happening, right? Because
Exactly.
everything is going with the flow of nature. And that's what I learned from Ayurveda. That's what I learned from Hinduism, that you just go with the flow of nature and accept.
Let's connect intuition, flow, and authenticity, which is basically the core of this podcast.
Yeah.
People are struggling to find authentic people, not just with mentorship, teachers, and etc. I would
Mhm.
say authenticity in everything, in a business, in a relationship, uh, not just friendship, also loving relationship. It's really hard to find people that are truly authentic, because if you're not proud, you're not really connected with yourself and who you are. You show
Yes.
basically a facade of who you are
Yeah.
towards other people. It's so hard and how do you develop authenticity according to your experience? How do you
That's a
suggest people to cultivate a deeper experience with authenticity?
that's a beautiful question. That has been my I think my intuition has been my compass to find a holistic doctor, a Reiki master.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very careful who I go to,
Yeah.
and I meet them. And if my energy and their energy is not in sync, or I feel like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not at peace with this person, there's a red flag, I will not continue the consultation, or I would just not go forward with that.
Yeah.
I I'm right now, especially since I have moved to San Diego, I've been blessed to be in a very beautiful spiritual community, and I'm around so many healers. As human beings, we all have issues. We all have our challenges.
Indeed.
We cannot judge others because they have issues, but they're doing healing work. No, that's not how you want to find the right person for you. But you always have to think about, what you preach, you have to practice it too. When I
Yeah.
see some of the healers that are around me, and they're my friends, there are people that I've known, they come to yoga classes, they're practicing their yoga, they're there for meditation, they're there for sound healing, and sometimes we go to the ocean together in the evening, and I see them being one with the sands, and with the sand, and just the beach, the nature. I know that that person is a true healer.
Yeah.
So observing people and looking at how they live, what is their lifestyle. If you see someone at the bar the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and they come to the meditation in the morning, which I don't know. This is a very a big conflict for me.
Yeah, there's a big incoherence. I see that.
It doesn't go together.
No,
And
no.
we all want to enjoy good stuff in life, but everything in moderation, everything needs to be in balance. I would say find people that have balanced life and they're honest, and you will see their honesty with your own intuition.
What made you trust me to join me in the Golden Child podcast?
I love it.
Come on.
I watched some of your old, work. Well, just to see how your interview, so I kind of learned how you're, how I need to be. But I loved how comfortable you are. You're very grounded. You love what you do. And your intention behind your work is very authentic. You're not pretending to be someone that you're not.
No.
So when we first met and talked from the get-go, I knew that what I see, it's what I'm gonna get. So my intuition said, go for it, very peaceful, and I felt comfortable.
Yeah, for me too. One of the things, of course, I'm extremely biased because I love your culture so much. I only met Iranian people; they're super, super nice. So that was definitely a fair point. Also, you know, you work with Dr. Richard, with Michelle. So also that was another point. But I also look every time at the energy, even though we are so distant, you know, miles and miles apart. I could immediately, you know, I immediately felt a nice vibe, a nice energy. And we talked for more than an hour, you know, about our opinions between religions. So, and immediately seen a very open-minded woman. And I said, okay, that's definitely Golden Child podcast material.
Thank you. And the point of view of a spiritual person, I have learned how it is. Well, I have it, and I've seen other people around me too, and you have that too. Just the fact that you notice the plant, and you learned about the meaning of my name, and you put it in the title. Seeing details of life, the small beauty that we have in life, and recognize them. It's an attitude that I call gratitude attitude, right? Because we don't have to have a big picture to say, wow, this is fantastic. No, a little tiny thing makes me so joyful.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm appreciating this little thing. So I saw that in you, and I thank you for that.
And I thank you really, and for the trust coming to the Golden Show podcast. It is really, really nice what we have been saying so far, and I would like to delve a little bit deeper on a topic which is so important for me, which is connected to authenticity, which is the value of courses, diplomas, and certificates nowadays. We talk about that last week, and also I talked with Dr. J, Michelle, and also with JOhxntdKqsVnzVOajPaV, which was a former student of Dr. Richard, and we noticed a very disturbing pattern. People there are basically giving certification in a week for anything, whether you want to become a yoga teacher, whether you want to become a Ayurvedic healer, anything. I mean anything. And this is causing a lot, I would say, of uncertainty towards people, because they don't know how to basically judge what is right, what is wrong. Is this guy legit? Does he know what he's talking about or not? Or is it just diplomas and stuff? There is so much inflation. There is a big inflation of any kind of diploma, starting from the basically degrees up to non-degrees diplomas.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear your opinion on the matter on how actually, to what
Yeah.
limit do we actually need diplomas? Because for centuries we didn't have that. People were just curious. People were just I would say, more focused. They wanted to learn something. They went to an ashram. They wanted to master something. They went
Yeah.
to the best teachers in town. They wanted to learn something. They bought a book. And right now, no. It's mindless consumption of courses and platforms that basic, and you can get basically everything for free. But they don't have the free stuff, the external gratification that most of the people need nowadays.
I hear you, and I think that is an issue that we have, and I've seen it. I've only lived in California, so I know that in California, you have to have a license certification for anything that you do. So not having that piece of paper becomes an issue. Even working as an Ayurvedic practitioner, even though that I studied for 3 years in a college of Ayurveda, it's not licensed yet. It's just a certification.
Yeah,
You have to show that, it's just a formality sometimes. But I always look at these courses, even if it's like 2 hours, 3 hours online, in person, however it is, as tools. And
yeah,
I always recommend to people that come to me and say, so should I become an Ayurvedic practitioner? Should I become a Reiki master? What do you think? I always tell them, these are tools that you learn. And after learning that, you have to practice. You have to become
yeah.
an Ayurvedic practitioner, someone who lives Ayurvedically with the guidelines,
I
based on
agree.
the Ayurvedic principles. If you're a Reiki master, you have to do so much cleansing and work on yourself to stay authentic,
Indeed.
right? To stay authentic so you can work on people. So it becomes very difficult to find the pearl between all the, in a muddy
Yeah, that's the
water.
point.
It's
People are
real.
confused. They don't know who to trust. I think that's a big issue.
And you know what else it brings? And I've gone through it too myself. I want to be honest about it.
Mhm.
It's feeling I don't know enough.
Yeah, man.
Feeling that,
Fair
oh my,
enough. I was
yeah,
culprit, but quite
yeah,
recently, until quite recently, then I started doing a specific movement against the mindless consumption of courses because it
yeah,
was destroying me. It was
yeah.
leaving me with a feeling of inadequacy, that I was never enough, that I was always late, and I hated from the gut because it wasn't true.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So that feeling of not being enough, not knowing enough, takes our confidence.
Yeah.
So what happens? It takes years and years that we have the tools. We have a toolbox full of tools, and we just have to choose one that really resonates to us
Yeah.
and practice it and know that that is the right way to go and master that route and be okay and not worry about other courses coming, bombarding
Because it
us.
never ends. That's the
in,
point. It never
but,
ends.
but it's consumption. We are in a society that, look, we go to the store, I go to the mall, and without needing anything, and when I go to a store, I feel like, oh my god, I need this shirt, I need these pants. It's just a feeling because there's so much inventory in front of me that I feel like I need to make a choice here.
Yeah.
That's what they're telling us. It's the culture. but we need to really have
Yeah.
a balance.
There's a beautiful book by Joe Dispenza something I really like what he says is that to become greater than the environment. And I
Mm.
believe that becoming greater than the environment means, and I think for me, becoming greater than the environment is relying on the power of choice. So, for example, I go to the bookstore and I can spend whatever I want, and my dharma is I get one. I go to the place where I need to buy some clothes. I can buy even the most expensive one, but I'm gonna buy just one. I go to, I don't know, let's just say I'm going to a seminar. There are 5 seminars here. Okay, I'm gonna buy just one. So you see that it gives you power of focus in a very unfocused world.
Absolutely. I was working with a friend of mine years ago, and she said something that was her ritual with clothes. And I started, after I learned what she was doing, I started doing the same thing. So she said, every time I go to the store and I find a shirt that I like, I buy the shirt. But when I come home, I look in my closet and donate one old shirt to someone else. So
That's nice.
replace,
That's
and
beautiful.
I do the same thing. This way you don't end up hoarding so much stuff in your space, which is
Yeah.
not good for your mind. You
It's
need the
not
space.
healthy. It's not
Oh,
healthy.
no, it's not. It's not. We have enough. We have enough.
Yeah.
We know enough. We have to trust ourselves and trust our intuition that,
You know what
this,
I noticed? I
yeah.
noticed about this consumption. When we move from single purchase to subscription,
Oh, yeah.
you remember once when you wanted something, you bought a DVD or anything like that. It was a single buy, and that's it. When we introduced subscription in anything, whether it was the gym, whether it was, I don't know, a television or TV show, Netflix, Amazon, or whatever, when we introduce a system based on subscription, it never ends because there's limitless choices. But guess what? Even the richest people in the world, they have 24 hours. They sleep 6 to 8 hours. They have limited time, even them. So we're giving people actually products and they have to be
Yeah.
frank, yes, people say I'll give you value. No, I think you're giving me a lot of confusion because there's no way that I'm gonna consume them. It's like, I don't know, hey, let's have a piece of cake. Oh, you know what? Even better, I'm gonna give you a subscription that you can come to my store and and eat all the cakes that you want for an entire month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, we have made it easier and easier to shop. Look at Amazon. Look how
Yeah.
easy it is to go and click, and your credit card is there. You don't have to worry about it. That the same psychology went for using credit cards instead of cash.
Yeah.
I remember when I had cash, I would think twice about spending so much.
Hallelujah.
Say, oh,
Hallelujah.
yeah, this is $40. I'm not sure. But plastic, 40, no problem. Go ahead, charge it.
Yeah.
It's
I,
how the mind works.
if you know Sadhguru, I know one of his quotes, which is one of my favorite. The mind only knows addition and multiplication. Okay, it doesn't operate on subtraction and division, not at all. So
That's
that
it.
means
Yeah.
that if I want to buy something, and this is quite recently, I've been doing this. I ask myself, if I buy this, what is that my mind will crave after that?
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's endless, right?
It's endless.
It's endless. Yeah. Yeah. If it's not one thing, it's another.
It,
Absolutely.
I had an addiction with books. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna share something that I do. So I'm a big Audible consumer. So I like audiobooks a lot. So, and before I continue, please tell me that your beautiful book is on Audible because I would love to hear it.
It is. It is.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
Awesome.
gonna check, but I believe it is. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited because I listen to audiobooks a lot.
All the time. Okay. That's all.
Okay. But I don't buy the subscription because when I buy the subscription, I got thousands, millions choices that I will never have. So what I do, I go to my closest friends and I say, listen, do you have an Audible account? Yes. Well, can I use your free credit? And so I can choose one book.
Yes.
One book. I got one shot in my gun. I can only get what I'm sure is gonna give me what I'm looking for. Not 10, just one.
So you know what you're doing. You're putting boundaries for yourself.
Yeah,
You're learning to say no to yourself.
yeah. That's
And that's amazing.
a lot of people think I'm like crazy that I'm putting myself like in isolation and everyone is buying, you don't buy anything. That's not true. I value the things that I value important. Okay.
You're balancing your consumption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come from a family which we we had everything. Okay. Maybe even too much.
Yeah.
Okay. And that made me appreciate the value of simplicity. That doesn't mean I don't have big goals. I have big, bold goals, and I love that.
Yeah.
But they have to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how much you gain. Because if you're towards consuming and consuming, trust me, no matter how much you gain, it will never end. Look at Johnny Depp. Look at Johnny Depp. Jesus.
Yeah.
He had huge economical debts. And no matter how many millions he made with, movies and everything, and it was never enough because it was always thirsty. And trust me, you can even make trillions. That if you are a thirsty guy, trust me, even quadrillions won't be enough for your first.
Absolutely. So knowledge is the same way, I believe. So when you have learned so much and you feel, well, but there are times that I want to say that, I get into that mode too, that I want to learn something new, or I want to learn more about a subject. Well, I listen to that thirst or that hunger. I try to feed it. But other times I feel kind of saturated with the knowledge that I need for certain things and try to contain it. I tell myself, like, no, this is it. That's it. No more classes, no more degrees, no more, as you say, subscriptions, no more. I bring that balance into my life. You have to. If not, this type of culture can gobble you, just can.
It's very toxic.
Yeah.
So I'm reading this book I want to show to our audience, okay? It's in Italian. The Teachings of the Buddha. Okay? And it said something very nice. I want to share this story, and it got me thinking. Okay. So there were a couple of students. They went to the Buddha, and then for guidance, and then he says, how many how many leaves do I have in my hand? Okay, and then they're counting the leaves. Okay, and then there is a forest over there. Okay, how many leaves there are there? We don't know that. Okay, so let's talk about wisdom. He says, okay, so the wisdom, and then he says, the wisdom that I have in my hand is greater than the wisdom that you can find in the forest. And I said, but Buddha, that's impossible. Look how many trees there are over there, and look at how many, leaves you have in your hand is not possible. And he says, there are enough. He says there are enough because you don't need the entire forest to find nirvana.
I love that.
Okay, I know I probably messed up the story a little bit.
No.
Okay, that's me. That's being authentic. I'm not perfect. Anyway, but what I like about the story says that you don't need to kill yourself with existential questions that will actually lead you to pain. And I agree 60% of that, because there are things that I value that the Buddha doesn't value, that for me are important, for him they're not. But it says also that you need to think with your own head, rely on your own intuition, find your own internal teacher, which for me is the golden child.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I love that. That's a beautiful story, and I'm getting to that point. I'm at an age that the age is telling me enough is enough. Don't look beyond this. You have arrived. You know enough. Just practice it, and there is a knowledge that comes with experience, with practicing. You know that in yoga, when you learn, you go through the YTT, which is the teacher training, and then you come out, you feel like you think you know a lot, but then once you start practicing yourself in each asana, it's different. The methods, going from vinyasa to a hatha yoga, it's different. And teaching, it's another different platform, right? That's another experience. So we have to allow ourselves to experience what we know now and share it with others. So enough is enough.
I want to share something with you. It's coming from a book. It's called The Building a Second Brain. So basically, is a guide that is helping people how to be more productive and how to store basically information using, cloud storage or different, softwares or, productivity hacks that you can, basically help your brain to remember better things. Okay. I used to do it a lot when I was at university. Drive, you got the folder, blah, 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 and everything. I don't do it anymore because I found a new system which works for me. And I think the system is this. What if we use our body as as the second brain? What do you mean? Let me give you an example. So when you're teaching asana or anything like that, you kind of need to remember, the hip goes like that, external rotation, internal rotation, blah, 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 and everything. And then you need to remember that these are the cues that they're teaching you. Well, guess what? If you learn to feel your body, you don't really need to remember that. You just need to feel your body, and then you basically read the script.
That's it. Oh my
That's
God.
what I do.
That is so beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So true.
Yeah. It
Just
happened me. It happened to me. There was a posture. I say, I feel this. I say, okay, let me see in my personal book what it says. So I try the posture. I say, okay, guys, when you're doing this, engage this, relax this, try to feel from blah, blah, blah. It was like having my own guidance, like my personal guide, my personal cloud storage is always with me. And guess what? I don't have to pay subscription for that.
I love that. I love that. No more subscriptions. Yeah. No,
No.
it's yours. We have to use all the tools that we have and just tap into it, and more comes out. More comes out because we have learned so much, and we know what we're doing. So yeah.
Final question, we'll go into podcast for you.
Woohoo,
My favorite one. What imagine that the inner child is standing beside you, your inner child. What are you going to say to her, and what does she say to you?
Oh my God. to my inner child, I would say express yourself without fear. And just be yourself. Don't change yourself for others just to fit in.
Yeah.
And the other question was, what would she say to me? She would say to me, this is a message that I get all the time, so I want to use that. It's enjoy this life, be present, be in the moment.
Yeah. Powerful. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for sharing. That was very, very nice. It's actually my favorite question. I always like, oh, let's get to the last one. I want to see them, what they say.
Yeah.
I
Thank
want
you.
to do like a big collage with all the guys that I had, what everyone said from.
Oh my God. I
I want
love
to
that.
do it. Yeah, I want to do it because it's so important, and I think it gives people, I will say, a good taste of what authenticity truly is. So thank you so much, Shabnam, for coming to the Golden Show podcast. It was truly a blessing.
Thank
And
you.
I'm gonna
Pleasure.
thank you in all the ways that I know how to thank in Persian, starting from the most difficult, which is Seposkozoram. And also, then there
Very
is
well.
mercy, Kheli Mamnunan,
Yeah.
Tashakor. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
we use the shorter one, which is merci.
Yeah,
Same as French.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to this fantastic episode, which was truly, truly inspiring. So, guys, consume something that makes your day. And trust me, this episode will make your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.